Hello and welcome to Winter Disco Tabletop Gaming. In this video, we are putting together and building and talking about Khagra's Ravagers, the latest Chaos Warband for Warhammer Underworlds that is available right now in store. Go out and get it. Well, not straight away. Buy it and then watch the unboxing and build videos. So let's get stuck into it. Here we are with all the little models. So we're going to put them together. Pretty straightforward. I mean, just on the instructions themselves. Couple of bits, sticking together. Front and back body and a head and like an arm or a shield, so very straightforward. First up, we're going to do number one. This is Slambo. It's not Slambo, but it looks a bit like Slambo if you remember that model from the 90s. I'm assuming his name was Slambo, can't ever remember. Now, it's a matter of finding the right sprue. So this is on this sprue here. And I should say hello and welcome. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Looking for the bit I can't find. There it is there. Yeah, I'm doing good. If you haven't seen one of these videos before, it's a chilled, let's build a model time type thing. It would help if I actually did this correctly. Number two is the axe. Yeah, so this is generally a build along where we just chill out and build models. Pretty straightforward. Pretty easy, and these are easy to build models, so really everything just slides in. So for example, this bit here slides in like that. Get that a little bit closer so we can actually see what we're doing. They do slide in, generally push fit, they'll go right in, but a bit of force is required. But for that, don't always have to do that. Because of physics, you put glue in there, you won't have space for the pin because there's too much pressure. So what you can do, just trim the pin just a little bit, just enough, a little bit more, and that will actually go in with some glue. So it goes into that arm right there. So get a little bit of glue and just a little tiny dab. It's all you need for these ones. And that just goes in like that. And you'll feel it. It's hard to show it on camera, but you do feel it. And it just goes in. And also all these little bits of the sprue still left over. A lot of the time I won't clean up that. I do afterwards. But for these videos, I'm just getting it all together. So now we need part 3, which is the sword hand, which if we find it, looks like it might be on this sprue actually, on the other sprue. Yeah, there it is on the other sprue, just up there. So there is a little peg there that you want to be careful of. And again, I will trim the peg down just a little bit. Just a little touch. And this goes in at this guy's right hand. Don't even think any glue came out then. Tiny little bit of glue, like really is not much at all. And that will slide in. Seems to be a little bit difficult to get this one in. Interesting. There we go. Bit weird, it doesn't seem to want to go in the angle you think it should go in, but it eventually does go in. So there we go. Pretty straightforward, and really so much detail on these models. I really do. I've come around to them. If you've seen my original review when they first announced, I was like, oh, I don't really care too much for it, but I've definitely come around. So 4 is on the same sprue where you got the head before. But yeah, I've definitely come around to them. Seeing them up close in person makes a massive difference. So the head, you can see, slots in to that bit there. Worth putting just a little dab of glue, just a little bit, just to really hold it in place. It will lock in once everything goes in because it is designed to hold in there. And you don't, like I said, you don't need glue for this, but it kind of helps. So we'll go back to this piece here and find 5. 5 is that bit there. So with the bone sticking out. So I'm just clipping that off camera because it is a little bit difficult. I do need to get a better camera that I don't have to hold right up close. And yes, I'm not taking everything off. I know people hate that and it annoys them. And honestly, it annoys me too. But what can you do? We're just trying to get this done. So this will slide in pretty straightforward. So just put that head back into place. Just some little dots of glue around just to really grip it and hold it in place. A little bit there too around the neck just to really get it in there. And that slides right in. So I'm just pushing that in. The head has a little bit of a wobble, as you can see, but it will go in without any issue. So there we go. Pretty easy. And then part 6 is the base. So we're going to find that bit. That bit there with the best base. Look at that base. That's such a good base. I love it. So let me know in the comments if you do have this model, if you bought this kit, because it's actually a pretty cool kit. I'm not actually going to glue the basing because I probably might take it off to paint. I'm not sure yet, but it fits pretty snugly in there, but you can always push it out through the bottom there. So there we go. One down. We're going to call this Slambo. You could replace that sword with another axe just to say, yeah, it is Slambo. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Let me know in the comments. I could be completely wrong. All right. Easy. They all pretty much go like this. But let's keep going. So number 2 is one of the other dudes. We need part 8 for the head. So the head is that one right here. Cut that out. And then we need part 7, which is this bit here. Bring the instructions out of the way. We don't need those instructions in the way. I'll bring them back when we need them, just so you can see them, but overall, you don't really need them. Not on camera anyway. So with the head, again, it goes in pretty straightforward. It goes off to the side as well, so that will lock in. So we just put a little bit of glue in there, and that will just hold it in place while we get the rest of the model together. So just a little bit, just edging it a little bit. Seems to, looks odd at this stage with the head, but I think that is definitely the right one. So next up we need part 9. This is the front of the body. Part 9 is on the same sprue. So clip that off. Sorry, I have to take it off camera so I can do it. And with these models, they're pretty straightforward to put together. And yes, I'm not going to cut that little bit off. We'll just have to deal with it. Yeah, they're super simple, push fit. And again, cutting that little peg just to get just a little bit of space there for the glue. And let's just play around a bit. There we go. Yeah, that'll slide in. No problem. So again, I'm not going to go too much glue. We can always come back and fix some stuff up, but definitely some glue in the little hole there. There's a little bit of a notch there as well that will slide into. And there it is. So that pushed the head in that direction, which is correct. I wasn't 100% sure which way it would go, but you know, if you want, you can move it around. You can even cut the little nubs off. But if you turn it too much, it'll pop out and everything. So that's fine. And because I do cut the pegs, it does take a little bit of the tension away. So you do have to glue it together. Okay, straightforward. Next up, we need the shield, which is, you can see there, is part 10, and that is on this sprue. So it's the shield on this sprue. So we'll get that little one out. A little bit tricky to cut out, actually. This bit right here, it's a little problematic, but that's fine. We can come back later with a knife and fix all that. I'm just, honestly, we're just going to leave it because, you know, I could spend ages cutting out, trimming it and sanding it and filing it down. But for our purposes, it's not necessary. Okay. The shield goes on without an issue. And I really should have test fit that, but it slides on. Yeah, and actually I would recommend that you do clean this bit up first. It is going to be a bit tricky to clean. Not impossible. Not impossible at all. You can do it. And because it's in there, you really don't notice it. Even with some bit of paint, you're not really going to look at that because you're going to look at it from like this perspective as well. So you're not really going to see too much of it. It's not too bad. And then finally, the base is base 11, which is on a different sprue. Okay then. Tripping me up. 11, it's on this sprue. So it's this one sort of has the jagged bits. And of course you should clean up the edges as well so you don't have all the little marks on there, but that's fine. It is what it is. And they're also really nice because you do have the footprint as well. Okay, and that one's going in. There we go. Pretty cool. One thing you could do with this model is not glue in the shield. It does make it a little bit difficult to paint. Honestly, it's not overly difficult. You're only really going to make it a bit difficult in that spot in the back behind the shield, but honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But yeah, definitely if you want to get the nicest paint job possible, keep that part separate. And you'll be able to paint it up nice. All right, on to number 3, which is the boss, which is Khagra. And we need to go 12 and 13. So firstly, 12 is on this one. Man, I love the cloaks. I think we do need to get a new box of Chaos Warriors. Oh, did we get one recently? Honestly, I can't remember. I think we did. No, I really need to think about that. I don't know if we did. Just like all that detail. Very similar in style, but much more dynamic posing to it, particularly with like the cloaks and the wind, how it's moving in the breeze, and you get all the little extra bits of leather and more detail. So I think that would be nice. If they haven't, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel for some reason I think they might have, but I'll need to check later. Okay, so the head is part 13 on the sprue. That's pretty much done. So I'm actually going to leave the head off at this stage. So I'm going to like put it all together at once. We'll try that. So part 14 is the next bit, which is this bit here. So the front part of the body. And again, cutting it off camera because it is a pain. All right. So the way you would normally put these together is you would sort of sandwich the head in. So you put the head in and then put the body on. But you can see like it's quite fiddly to actually keep it in there. So that's why I like that with a bit of glue. Or, like I said before, that little nub on the end there, if you can see it, below the neck, you can chop that off and then glue the head on. You're not going to get it perfectly in space, but you can actually, gives you a bit more opportunity to move it around a bit. But for this, I'm going to put it in place itself. And I'm referring back to the instructions just to make sure that the head is going on correctly. A little bit tricky, so I'm just going to hold it down just to get a little bit of tackiness in there, just to hold it on. There we go. No issue. And again, we'll cut the little peg just a little bit. Dab, bit of glue down in there. Probably a little bit too much glue. And always put a little bit more in there. It's not that big a deal. Oh, need to put some on there. And this will just lock in like that. So simple. I mean, if you've seen my Necron Psychomancer build, that was the last build that I did. These things are just absolutely joyful to put together. The Psychomancer was probably one of the most difficult models I've had to deal with. And I've been doing models since the 90s. Yes, I'm old. Finally, we need her shield, which is part 15, which is obviously the only shield left. Not as big as the other shields, which is, a bit strange, but each to their own. A little tricky on that bit right there to cut off, but should be okay. I have to turn it around, actually. I find with the bigger joints, gates, or whatever they're called, it is difficult to do. So I'm going to take my own advice from before, and I'm not going to glue it on. I'm just going to push it in, And as you can see, like it's not going to come out unless you really pull. Okay, came out easily, but you have to purposely pull it out. It's not just going to fall out. And that's why I like these models. You can put them together and play. Like we've been recording for 15 minutes and I think I've only been putting models together for like 13 of that. And we've already got 3 done. So, it's not overly difficult. So now we need part 16 for the base. So that's why I love the easy to build models, simply because you can just stick it all in and get it done straight away. And you can see, like, you just know where it's going to go because you can see the foot thing, that square thing is going to match that little peg there. So easy does it. And I think with this one, definitely it pays to not glue it in. I can actually get it in there. It's been a bit tricky. Odd. Been a little odd. There we go. Okay. There we go. It's Khagra herself. Definitely, I do want to glue that in because it does go in a particular spot. Like it's locked in there. Like you can move it, but when you put it in there, you'll know where it's meant to go. Yeah. And I think keeping it off the base in this instance is the right thing to do because so you can get right up into the legs and the cloak and take the shield off so you can get into the arms and the body now because there's a bit more detail in there. But for now, we'll stick that on. It's actually a very cool model. I'm actually, like I said, I've really come around to this set. Did not really like it to start with, but I've come around to it. So this is, I believe, Zarya, I think, and this is Khagra's sister. So this is a little bit more fiddly. There's a lot of little bits in here. So I recommend being careful cutting this bit off particular. I found that with longer thin bits, there's a lot of tension built up in that piece itself. So when you do cut, it'll flex in a certain direction and it may snap. So be quite careful with it. This one isn't too bad. I think in Blackstone Fortress, the Eldar model, when I cut it, the rifle barrel just snapped off. It just completely snapped off for no reason. Simply because it had all that tension built up and it just sort of, all that tension suddenly came out and went in a weird direction and it just sort of like snapped out of the way. Because there was pegs and gates pulling the tension away back into the frame. I'm sure that I am talking out of my backside. So if you know better, please tell me in the comments if I'm actually correct with that. I believe that to be the case, but I could be completely wrong. So with this model, there's 2 little bits you need to be aware of. So one will go in to this section here, which isn't too difficult. And then there's a little, I believe that's a little, no, that's a different part. That's just a hole there. So it goes around, you can see there, it goes around the body. So let's just test fit that. So it goes in the top hole by the looks of it. And the instructions are actually wrong. Yeah, the instructions say it goes in the bottom hole. There's a hole just in that spot there. So, gotta be careful. What they should do is really have it like a half moon. So we'll just double check, make sure that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm just going to trim that down as well. Just a little tiny bit. That's probably too much. It'll be all right. And yeah, I'm just trying to be really careful because it's quite fiddly, this bit. Definitely doesn't go down there, does it? No, that would be ridiculous. All right, we'll just put some glue in there and it'll go in. Just enough. Just enough. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's meant to go in there, but yeah, I think that's right. All right, I'm just gonna hold that because it just doesn't quite feel 100% correct. There it is. Okay, it's because of the pieces, it is actually quite difficult to see how to get it in, but we got there. So that'll glue up nice. And like I kept saying, you don't need the glue for this. You can do it without the glue. So now near the front of the body, Look at that. How good is the front of that body? That is so cool. I do want to take this model, cut off all the icons, add some more tech stuff, make it into part of a tech priest. Or even something from the Ecclesiarchy for 40k. I think that would be really nice. The model itself, you could do some really cool stuff. I think this model is actually really nice. Yeah, you could really make this into Ecclesiarchy. Trim down all the chaosy looking things. I think that'd be really cool. Who knows, maybe I will do some conversion work one day. I really want to. And get some conversions on the channel. I have a list of all the conversions that I do want to do. It's a long list. One of them is a Death Guard army built from scratch using Primaris Marines. I think that would be kind of cool. Keep bashing Primaris Marines and Poxwalkers. That's the dream. So there we go. A little strange actually to paint because you have this big gap up in the bottom there. I don't know if you can quite see. I think it's a little bit dark. Might have to turn the lights up a bit, but you can just jam brush up in there. You'll be fine. Yeah, and there's like little bits on there, but you know, whatever. And finally, the base. Not that difficult to do. If we just get it on the right spot. And this model is quite flimsy. I'm very hesitant to hold onto it too tightly. Oh, yeah, it makes me nervous. So I'm definitely not gluing this one in because you can't get to the back of there. But there we go. Zarya or Zacia or something like that. Let's have a look. It is Zacia. There's the card there. There you go. It has like the rules for her as well. I actually really like the card. Actually very nice, the card. I think the card production value's gone up. Anyway, talking about the models. So there we go. That's all of them. Khagra's warriors, all completely built. Yeah, very like, yes, leave the shield off and then paint it, but there is so much detailing here. In the review or the unboxing, I've talked about all the different types of materials. So all the different leathers, cloths, metals, hides, fabrics, lots of detailing there. You can take washes really well. So there's Khagra herself with a giant skull mace, very nice. We're going to call this guy Slambo. I know that's not his name, but I'm calling him Slambo. Again, lots of detail on there. And the shield on the back, so this is probably going to be the best one to paint. And you can see that there is a gap there, but with a little bit of a push, we can fix that up. But you know what, you can put in some green stuff or a little bit of extra plastic glue to weld that together, and then you can sand it back and push it around and cut into it to sort of fill that gap. And then, oops, sorry for knocking the camera. And then we have, I've already forgotten a name, Zacia. Might be one of the more interesting characters. I do love how there is a bit more narrative, so we've got these two assisters, I believe. So I'm always like, oh, there's a story there. I want to know that. So I'm really excited for the other warbands to have a little bit more story behind them. So there we go. Nice. And you also get the cards as well. So if you play that, there you go. Don't really talk about the game itself too much on this channel, but it is a fairly fun game, very tactical. So if you do want to get these models for 15% off, you can buy the box. We'll bring the box in here. Very cool art on the box. You can get it for 15% off at Element Games. Check out the link in the description. And if you buy from there, it helps the channel out as well. So thank you for watching. If you do enjoy these build guide videos in this format, please let me know. I'm thinking of mixing it up a bit, make it a bit more different if you're into that. But if you do enjoy these, let me know. And I will see you in the next video.